Welcome to the Shootin' Show. Stand by for shots fired.
Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome again to this week's program. We have a great show for you today, and I tell you what, friends, it's so pretty out here. The first part of October here in Louisiana, you might get it confused with summer, but it's such a lovely day, such a good day to be out shooting and doing things. Yes, it is warm, and yes, I do have my cool downer, and yes, you can buy one through the Bullet Express. So, friends, let me ask a small favor of you. If you're watching us on local cable around the country, please, if you would, drop us a line at the Shootin' Show, 554 Kings Highway, Shreveport, Louisiana, and 71104 is our zip code. Please let us know. It will help us dealing with some of our advertisers, some of the surveys that we need to run periodically with our program. So we're free to cable companies and local TV stations everywhere. And this is no reflection at all. No, we're not going to call up the cable company and tell them we're going to charge them, because we're not. We're very pleased to work with every local cable and TV station company that we possibly can. But if you're watching us on local cable, please just drop us a line and tell us where you are. We hear from people everywhere, all over the country, and we're doing another survey now. Our past surveys have told us we're reaching 1 million plus people a week. Well, friends, that's not enough. We need to reach 10 million and 20 million and 50 million, because we've got to show them what we are as normal American shooters, as people who are gun owners, who are concerned about their families, about their future, and certainly about our rights to keep and bear arms. Well, let's open another Shootin' Show. In fact, let's take a couple of .357 Magnums today. We're going to compare these two guns. In my left hand, I have a 686 Smith & Wesson. It's a black chrome or black stainless steel model in that case. And in my right hand, I have a Ruger GP 100. So we're going to do a road test on these, just like you'd compare a Ford to a Chevrolet. These are just about equivalent guns, so let's open another Shootin' Show. You know, friends, we have a couple of targets here, and we've got two guns, and believe it or not, some of you folks may have seen me do this before on the program, but you know, you actually can shoot two guns on two different targets at the same time if you work at it just a little bit. You have to get your right eye going with your right hand, your left eye going with your left hand, but believe it or not, it actually does work sometimes. So let's see what it looks like today with these two .357 on our two water bottles here. Well, I sort of nicked one, but the water's running out, so we'll call it a hit. Now, friends, we're going to start off today, as we did a moment ago, shooting both .357 Magnums. And I have two of the the finest all-around handguns that I'm aware of. Of course, the great 686 Smith & Wesson, and I said earlier, a black stainless. This was one of the limited production runs that Smith & Wesson made several years ago, coating a stainless steel with a black or a bluing type material. It really, in fact, it's pretty darn black if you ask me. It's more black than blue, but I really thought it was a neat idea. I don't know what the situation was, why they don't offer that today. I really don't know why, and to my knowledge they don't. They might, and I don't know about it, but this was a good idea because it wouldn't draw as much attention if you carried the gun in a holster or if you were out hunting with it. And believe me, both of these guns qualify as hunting handguns. I really like the idea of having a dark or a black stainless steel. But again, you know, the 686 is one of my very favorite all-time guns. And we have another one here. We have the Ruger GP 100, which is essentially the same gun, just like say a Ford Crown Victoria and maybe a Chevrolet Caprice. They're the same concept but different cars. Well, these are in fact the same concept as far as guns goes, but they're very different firearms. The Smith & Wesson mechanism was perfected about 1899, and truthfully, no one has really come up with an improvement on the way the Smith & Wesson actions work. They can be made as smooth, literally, as glass. And of course, the durability record that these guns have is excellent. And here comes Ruger with a different idea. They use a coil spring rather than a single leaf type spring as in the Smith & Wesson guns. The Ruger has a cast frame, a very high quality investment cast frame, whereas the Smith & Wesson uses a forging, and we'd have to get into metallurgy to talk about the differences between the processes, but really these guns are about as equal probably as products can be, but made by different manufacturers. There are some differences that we'll look at in just a moment, but one of the things that I like about the 6-inch barrel on a 357 Magnum, you know, the original cartridge was designed around the Smith & Wesson 8 3/8-inch barrel. You've got a lot more gunpowder in the case than the 38 Specials had, and I need to go over this from time to time. You know, a 357 Magnum is nothing more than an elongated 38 Special case. It's about 1/10 of an inch longer or so than the 38 Special case, and the reason was since they put so much more powder in that particular case to be used in a very strong gun, the manufacturers did not want someone to take a 357 Magnum cartridge case and put it in a 38 Special revolver, which was designed for much lower pressures. So what they did, they made the case a little bit longer so it wouldn't chamber in a 38 Special. Now the bullet diameter, the bullets are in fact identical. They're the same as far as the width of the bullet itself in the 357 as in the 38 Special. I don't know why it's called a 38, because it's really not a 38. The bullet itself is 357 thousandths of an inch, so just a little more than 1/3 of an inch. But that was the reasoning behind why the case is longer. Now you can have a 357 Magnum revolver. You can shoot 38 Specials in the 357 Magnum. The reverse is not true. You can't shoot a 357 Magnum cartridge in a 38 Special. And believe me, there are reasons why. Your typical 38 Special will operate at anything from, say, 14 to 22,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. And they have a different phraseology for it, but we're being very general in these terms. I believe the plus P ratings go up to like 22,500 pounds per square inch, and yes, I do stand to be corrected, but I'm in the ballpark. Whereas your 357 Magnum cartridge case is built to withstand pressures of up to 46,000 pounds per square inch. Much, much higher, of course. So it really takes a strong mechanism to contain those kinds of pressures. And I'll tell you something else that I find interesting. Many of the 357 Magnum revolvers from all makes, between the barrel and the cylinder, you've got that little flash gap there. It can't be helped. You have to have a gap between the barrel and the cylinder so the cylinder can turn in the revolver. It can't be flush. It can't be right up against it. And some of the 357s blow a little unburned powder out there, and yes, sometimes they'll sting you a little bit. In a combat situation, you'd never feel it, but that's another reason that all of us should be wearing shooting glasses when we're out here shooting for fun or for practice, whatever else we're doing. I cannot overstate the value of shooting glasses, and of course I have to mention hearing protection behind that, because these guns are in fact so loud that you would definitely get permanent hearing damage if exposed to a lot of Magnum ammunition being shot. For that matter, even a 22 long rifle in a handgun will give you hearing damage if you shoot it for a long period of time without some sort of hearing protection. So that's something that we really do need to dwell on from time to time, because every week we have new shooters, new people who are watching the shooting show, and these things really need to be spelled out, because, you know, before I knew about these things, well, I was like anybody else. I didn't know, and now with so many people buying guns, a lot of people are afraid that the government is going to stop us from being able to buy guns at all or even own guns. So a lot of people are buying guns now. They may not know a lot about them. So this is something that we need to do here on the show, is to talk about things that the new or beginning shooter should know, and some things that are so important. And no, we're trying every way possible to keep the government from literally disarming the public like some of those folks in Washington want to do. But still, we need all the help we can get, absolutely. And the more shooters we can get out there who are finding out how much fun it is, what a good recreational sport, And you know, friends, in time of a life-threatening situation, this will be one of the greatest gifts that anybody could give you, is showing you how to properly defend yourself with a handgun or a long gun. That's one of the greatest gifts you can give someone, to literally help them save their own lives, because unfortunately with our violent society, the police cannot be everywhere, and even if you're threatened, the police can't do anything about that. You literally must be able to help protect your own life, or you need to be able to take some responsibility for protecting yourself and your family, because believe me, when the well-known chips are down, there probably won't be anybody else there to do it but you. Moving right along, we have the, as I mentioned, the system in the Smith & Wesson that was perfected about, just before 1900, and these two guns, as you'll notice, one has an underlug barrel, the 686. Now our GP100 has the lighter barrel. The GP also makes a similar barrel profile to the 686, but the reason we have the lighter barrel is because these are the two guns that Britton's and Shreveport happen to have in stock that they loaned us, and we do appreciate them so much. They've been such a huge help to our program. But we still have two equivalent guns that should have similar results as far as accuracy and other things, due to their nature as being essentially the same concept but from different manufacturers.
Awesome firepower, precision rifle skills. That's what you'll find along with lots more in these two great new videos, Marine Corps Firepower and Marine Corps Silent Drill Team. See an actual firepower demonstration of the latest Marine Corps weapons of the infantry, including the M220 Echo-Tow missile system, grenade launchers, mortars, and lots more. Plus the Marine Corps Silent Drill Team, an incredible display of precision rifle handling skills by the most respected and admired rifle squad in the world. Two great new videos for one low price, just $19.95 through this special TV offer. Marine Corps Firepower and Marine Corps Silent Drill Team. Two videos for the price of one. Call and order yours right now.
Call toll-free with your credit card ready, 1-800-942-8273. By ordering today, you'll receive this 32-page gun video catalog absolutely free. So order now, 1-800-942-8273. Call now.
Now then, friends, let's take a closer look at our 686 Smith & Wesson. As you can tell, the metal surfaces are all extremely well done, which is typical of Smith & Wesson products. But you can see that you do have the full underlug on the barrel, which really does help in recoil. And if this were my gun, the first thing I would do would be replace the grips for some rubber grips of one type or another. But these, in fact, are very comfortable. It's just that I prefer something else. As you're well aware, of course, you may not be an experienced shooter. Here's how to open the cylinder. You have the latch here on the back, and you pull the cylinder out, and of course, it ejects the spent cartridge cases. You push on the ejector rod there. A very well made, very strong frame. Now then, of course, to load the gun, all you have to do is just put the bullets in, or take a Comp 3 Safariland speed loader, which, by the way, you can buy from us at the Bullet Express. Line up a couple of the holes there, get a couple in line, and of course all you have to do is just push, and of course the gun is loaded. But it also will unload it for our purposes here. We have very fine adjustable sights, and this is really one of the very finest all-around handguns that money can buy, the 686 from Smith & Wesson. Now friends, one other thing I want to mention here, we'll go ahead and cock it. We know this gun's unloaded. On the Smith & Wessons, the firing pin is actually part of the hammer. And of course, it has a little bit of play here. You can see it's self-centering. And on the Smith & Wessons, the firing pin is actually put into the hammer. And we'll look at the different system on the Ruger in just a moment. Now then, friends, we have our GP100 Ruger, as you can see. And of course, the system works a little differently from the Smith & Wesson. Instead of a latch that goes forward to release the cylinder, here you have a button you push in, and of course the cylinder will come out. And it has a little different mechanism here as far as the type of ratchet that is used there to turn the cylinder. Also, the ejector rod right here does not turn on the GP100, and it has the latch here at the front of the crane. You can see it there. Let me turn the light. There we go. That's the cylinder latch right here, that little piece, and you can see how it will push down like so, to latch into the frame. It latches in the front, similar to a Dan Wesson revolver. Unlike the Smith & Wesson, the Rugers have the firing pin inside the frame here rather than on the hammer. And of course this has a transfer bar ignition. That little plate there in front of my finger comes up and in fact connects the hammer to the firing pin. A different system than the Smith & Wesson. It works extremely well, but just different. Of course this gun has very fine adjustable sights. On the Ruger, the GP100 series with adjustable sights, the front sight blade is replaceable. They have several options. And again, these are very fine handguns that essentially do the same thing, just by different manufacturers. Also, another thing that these guns share, they use the same speed loader, such as this Safari Lane we were looking at earlier. What you do, you line up a couple of the holes and you just mash and let it fall away, and of course your gun's loaded instantaneously.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after this break for your local cable company or TV station. You know, friends, for the absolute best in monthly shooting magazines, turn to Shooting Times magazine. They have all sorts of excellent features on handguns, rifles, shotguns, and black powder by some of your favorite gun writers. Each month you'll find interesting articles on guns, shooting, reloading, and new products in the firearms industry, that along with important information on pending legislation of interest to all gun owners. For subscription information, call 1-800-727-4353. Shooting Times, the best there is.
You know, friends, we talk a lot about revolvers, for that matter, everything else on our show. But some people now are thinking, and police officers are some ones who are, I think, are as much confused as anybody else. A lot of people are going to the high-capacity semi-automatics over the revolvers. Well, I'm not so sure that's a good idea. The other day I advised some people who were looking at guns. I advised them, and this is what I said from my standpoint anyway. If you're willing to go out and work with the semi-automatic and learn how it operates and really spend some time with it, they can be very useful guns to us. But the revolver, certainly you need to also go out and work with revolvers or any other firearm that you're going to use in defense, or certainly for your life or anything else, or just to properly shoot the gun and handle the gun. You need to go out and shoot some ammunition and find out how they work and find out what its characteristics are. But there are several advantages that revolvers have over semi-automatics for the average person that I think are worth mentioning. One is you can leave a revolver loaded indefinitely on a shelf or in a drawer. You can leave it loaded for years, and since all the springs are at rest in the revolver, you can actually pick the gun up and shoot it without having to wonder whether or not it's going to work, if it was in proper condition when it was put there. Whereas on the semi-automatics, they're a little more temperamental about things like that. You have magazine springs and other things. Some of them may hold up, some may not, for a long period of time. If you're not going to shoot a gun very much, and you're looking to buy a personal protection or a house gun, something to keep at home, I would suggest a revolver over a semi-automatic for that reason and some more, of course. Another reason is you can open the cylinder on a revolver and check it and be sure whether it is loaded or empty. It's very simple. Take the cylinder out, you count all the holes. If there's no bullets there, there's no bullets in the gun. Whereas on a semi-automatic, you can take the magazine out of the gun and your magazine may be loaded, but the gun still may have a round in the chamber. Now this Smith & Wesson has a magazine safety, but we never count on mechanical safeties to fail-safe us or to keep us safe. We always want to adhere to safe gun handling qualities, but on occasion, people who don't know a lot about guns will take the magazine out, they see the bullets in the magazine, and they assume that the gun is unloaded. Well, in this case, let's see. Well, there was one in the chamber, sure enough. And if you don't check that chamber, you have no idea whether or not the gun is in fact loaded or not. You must remember, when you take the magazine out, you still have to check that chamber to be sure that gun is unloaded. And none of us want any injuries. We don't want any liability suits on someone inadvertently picking our gun up in the house or any other situation. We want to know at all times what the condition of our gun is. And out at Gun Sight a few weeks ago, one of their rules is, and I agree with it totally, every gun is always loaded no matter what the situation it may be. We always treat every gun as if it's loaded. Even if we have just unloaded it, we still don't want to point it at a pet or a TV set or anything that in fact we cannot afford to lose. We don't want to point at anything that we can't afford to shoot, because accidents sometimes do happen, and you'll always be safe if you always adhere to safe gun handling rules. It's something that we've got to talk about, and we will continue to talk about, because that's something that is so important, especially to those new shooters who did not grow up with other people in the family shooting, who are just buying guns, learning about this for the first time. Some of the most basic rules are sometimes the ones that we get sloppy and we forget to watch for or adhere to. So that's something that we're going to talk about, and you may get tired of hearing me say it, but we're going to talk about safe gun handling periodically, because it has to be done, has to be said. And yes, friends, I know we're talking about revolvers at the moment, but there's something that I think is so important. And you know, when we think of something that needs to be said, sometimes I'll go and say it. A lot of policemen now are switching over to semi-automatics, and I really don't agree with their logic of more shots. When you have a gun that you can do things as well as can be done with a .357 Magnum revolver, I'm not so sure that numbers of extra shots is really that much of an advantage when you have speed loaders available for these things. And if you happen to run out of bullets, every police officer should be carrying a powerful backup gun anyway. And for the average citizen, heck, you can buy 2 revolvers for what one of a number of these semi-automatics cost. And I'm really thinking, as you've heard me say on the show before, we should be concentrating more on marksmanship, more on being able to hit our target, than we should be just throwing a lot of bullets out there. Personally, I am a great fan of the revolver for self-defense, or for anything else for that matter. And although I like the semi-automatics, I think that the advantages that people are attributing to the semi-automatics are greatly overstated. I think that if you have a revolver that you learn to shoot well and can handle properly, you're every bit as well armed, if not better. I say every bit as well as with any of the semi-automatics. That's in my opinion, and certainly some other people I know. And not taking away from anybody else's gun, by all means, if you like semi-automatics, that's great. I have no problem with that. Okay, because I do like them. I shoot them pretty regular. All right, one thing we want to talk about briefly, those people who are switching, especially those policemen who are switching to the semi-automatics, you know, when you shoot a revolver, and we know these guns are unloaded, the hammer is going to return at rest. It's not going anywhere. The trigger is automatically going to return to the double action position if you don't thumb cock it, and that's something else we'll talk about another time. But anyway, what's happening, of course, you can shoot a revolver, and when you get through, you take your finger out of the trigger guard, off the trigger, the gun is safe again, whether it's a Ruger or a Smith & Wesson or whatever else. Okay, here's the rub. A lot of people now are buying double action. We're going to go ahead and load this gun. I slide all the way back, let it go, and we have the safety on. It's decocked itself. Okay, they're buying double action semi-automatics. They do not understand how these things work. Now watch this. Okay, your first shot, and a lot of police officers are carrying these guns with the safety off. Okay, let me get my hearing protection in a little better. My earplugs. Okay. The first time you shoot one of these guns, like so, okay, when you release that trigger, it's in the single action mode. Now this gun is cocked and that trigger's to the rear. That second shot is going to take a very light pull on the trigger to make it go off. Okay, a lot of police officers now are forgetting to decock these guns when they shoot them. They'll take them out, shoot them. They will forget to decock them. They're putting them in the holster. Now this gun is loaded and ready to fire. If that trigger snags on any little thing now, it's going to go off. And believe me, it will be a terrible pain down the leg. They're forgetting to decock these guns. So we have a procedure, and the folks at Gunsight also agree with this. I was talking to them about it, and they have their own procedure worked out. Let's unload this gun. Now then, and we know it's unloaded. All right? Every time that gun heads for that holster, they will touch that decocker or push that safety down every time without exception. Whenever they start toward the holster, they will automatically decock that gun or push the safety on. Automatically. And this is something that will prevent accidents. If you're a police officer and you actually had to shoot your gun, whether it be at someone shooting back at you or whatever, the problem is a lot of policemen are carrying these guns off safe, and of course some with the decocker models there is no safety, like the SIGs or Rugers or Smith & Wesson, whatever, or some of the others. There is no safety on some of these decock type guns. You don't have to push a safety off to get the gun into action. So what they're doing, they're forgetting that they have to decock that gun. And of course what's happening is they're putting a cocked gun, and we know this one's unloaded, back in that holster. Sometimes their finger's on that trigger. Remember, we never put our finger on the trigger unless we're ready to shoot, but they're having accidents because of that. And doggone it, we need to work on it. We need to talk about it and get it out there in front of people so we can prevent these accidents. It's just something from lack of training and lack of being familiar with how the gun works. Now the Colt 45, the single action Colts, are a little different because they have a positive safety. So you would push the safety off to make the gun fire. Again, check my hearing protection. All right, you know you did something to make it fire, and if it goes, and now it's in the single action mode as it normally operates, okay, and you think about, since you already pushed the safety off to put the gun up, we will put the safety back on because these guns are designed to be carried cocked and locked. It's a little easier to remember on the single action guns. So you push the safety off to make the gun fire, and then to put the gun up, you will push the safety back on. So it's a little easier to remember here. But again, the semi-automatics take a little more work. You've got to work at it. You've got to read that manual. You've got to go out there, and you've got to discover how, in fact, they work firsthand.
Hi, I'm Bill McIntyre with another update from Capitol Hill here at NRA headquarters in Washington, D.C. The Brady Bill was discussed at a hearing before the Crime and Criminal Justice Subcommittee of the House Judiciary Committee. NRA's legislative counsel Richard Gardner testified against the so-called Brady Bill. He pointed out that its 5-day waiting period will have no benefit in terms of crime control. Gardner explained that most states with a waiting period on firearm purchases have experienced increases in violent crime or homicide rates greater than the national trend. The Brady Bill is currently a part of the House Omnibus Crime Bill. The next action will be a markup of the bill before the end of the month. Hillary Clinton is shopping the health care reform package on Capitol Hill. She has clearly indicated a willingness to increase taxes by 25% on firearms to pay for the reforms. White House Press Secretary Dee Dee Myers disavowed the First Lady's comments, declaring that she was expressing her own opinion and that no such tax is included in the president's proposal. From NRA headquarters in Washington, D.C., I'm Bill McIntyre. I'll be back next week with another update from Capitol Hill.
All right, people, the voters are screaming about violent crime. What are we going to tell them?
How about the truth?
We're not keeping violent criminals in prison.
Sir,
Oh,
35 states are under court order to release criminals.
The average criminal set free will commit 187 more crimes a year.
We're out of prison space.
We gotta make more. Good people are getting hurt bad.
With the likelihood of arrest and conviction, a murderer will spend 1.8 years in prison.
Yeah, and a rapist a couple of months.
I'm not in the prison building business.
We're in the re-election business.
Thank you.
Listen, just a handful of repeat offenders commit most violent crimes.
We could just stop letting them go. Well, stop giving me the facts and start giving me headlines.
How about another gun control law?
Yeah, we've already got 20,000 of them.
They just don't work.
So my gun control plan to restrict firearm sales to citizens will break the back of violent crime and rid our streets of violent criminals. Do we have any questions?
Don't let politicians get away with murder. Join the NRA.
Friends, stay tuned for more of The Shootin' Show after this break for your local cable company or TV station. You know, friends, all of us as enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots, with literally thousands of firearms bargains, 3 big issues monthly. Shotgun News, Post Office Box 669, Hastings, Nebraska. Their zip code is 68902. Their phone numbers, area 402-463-4589. For subscription information, MasterCard or Visa, call them at 1-800-345-6923.
Well, friends, the first thing we're going to do in our comparison here, let's chronograph the guns with the same ammunition, and I'm going to show you the screen while we're doing this on our chronograph. We're going to use the same ammunition. We're going to use the Federal 125 grain factory loads, 357s, and then we're going to use the Winchester Silver Tips, which is a little heavier bullet. Both of these loads are well known for their fine accuracy, so let's do that right now. We'll start with our Ruger and the Federal 125 grain jacketed hollow points. Now then, friends, let's start with the Federal ammunition. We're going to run 3 rounds of the Federal 125s through our chronograph. Again, we're shooting the Ruger GP100 6-inch barrel. We'll shoot 3 rounds of Federals, then we'll shoot 3 rounds of Silver Tips. Let's see what it looks like on the screen there. Okay, 1,593 first shot. 1,586 second shot, as you can see. 1,566 for the third shot. A really high velocity. All right, now then we have 3 Winchester Silver Tips, same gun, GP100. Let's see what they do. A little heavier bullet, remember. 1364, which is pretty good, in fact. 1365, talk about consistency. Okay, 1335, still good velocities for a 145 or so grain bullet, Winchester Silver Tips. Now then, let's check the 686 with the same ammunition. You know, friends, this is so much fun. I really like both of these guns. They're really just excellent. We'll put in 3 of the Federal loads, and of course you can remember we're going to call the average for the GP100 with the Federal cartridges about 1,580 or so feet per second, pretty doggone hot. And we'll call the Silver Tip average there about 1,340, in that neighborhood. So we'll load 3 and 3. And of course what we're doing here is representative. To do a more thorough test, we'd run maybe, 10 or 15 rounds of each kind of cartridge through the gun, but we're getting a pretty good representation because we don't have all day to spend out here. We've only got an hour program. So anyway, let's do the same drill again with our Smith & Wesson 686. Now then, friends, back at our chronograph, you see our last shell fired through the GP100. Let's try our Smith & Wesson with the same barrel length, and let's just see how they compare. All right, the Federals are first. Okay, it's a little slower, 1490. All right, let's try another Federal. 1464. And 1559. You see, there can be some disparity in ammunition out of the same box. And realize that this gun is showing a slightly slower, still very respectable numbers. My goodness, anytime you get from 1450 or 1475 in that range up to 1559 was that last shot, you're still talking about tremendous power in a .357 Magnum cartridge. Well, now let's try the Winchester silver tips and see what kind of average velocity we get there. 1341, 1306, 1330. So we're not seeing as much difference in the Winchester silver tips in between the two guns as we did with the Federal 125 grain jacketed hollow points. Your guess is at least as good as mine. Both of these guns are so similar in performance, neither one of them have a lot of recoil, and that just shows the difference between the two manufacturers, or in fact maybe even the two guns. The next gun off the assembly line might show us an entirely different figure. All right, friends, you can see our targets out here 25 yards. Let's shoot off the sandbags with both guns, and let's see what kind of groups we get. Now then, friends, we're set on our bench rest here, and what we're going to do, I'm going to shoot off these sandbags. We have our targets out there. We're going to shoot 5-round groups with both types of ammunition, and of course there are many other types of ammunition. That's about all we've got time for today, and I'm not going to bore you with watching me shoot bench rest groups, but let's see what these two guns will do in comparison. We can see they're similar in velocity. On the Winchester silver tips, the Ruger ran a little faster velocity with the Federal 125s. Both are still outstanding performers. Well, let's see what they'll do on paper. Well, let's get our rest, get our earplugs in real good. And due to the nature of the way the Ruger works, I think I'll shoot the groups double action, pulling the trigger back, cocking it with the trigger, rather than thumb cocking it all the way. And I believe we'll do it like that. So let's get our group started here. Shoot our Ruger first. Okay, get in position, a good solid rest, take a deep breath, and all right, there's one. Let's do another one. Okay, we're going to do this some more times, but for the sake of time, and again, boring you people to tears watching me do this, we'll go ahead and shoot our groups, and then we'll take a look on paper. All right, friends, let's see the group shot by our GP100, and I tell you what, it's pretty outstanding. This group here of 5 shots. From here, that's a 1 3/4 inch. And this is Winchester ammunition. Winchester silver tips, 1 3/4 inches. And my goodness, these are 5 shots now at 25 yards. This is an inch and about 1 inch and a quarter. Outstanding. 1 1/4 inches for the Federals. Really an outstanding group, especially with the velocities that these guns are giving, or this GP100 is giving here. My goodness, an 1 1/4 group at 25 yards is really spectacular. Well, for that matter, this one is too with the Winchester. Now then, let's see how our Smith & Wesson, and we'll write on here. All right, let's check our target for the 686 and see what it did. And of course, this is our 686 group. Now then, here are 5 shots for the Winchester silver tips. And this is going to be this is going to be a 2.5-inch group, which is still not a bad group for 25 yards. This is about what we would expect out of a good quality revolver. Again, that bullet is moving along pretty well. Now then, let's see what our Federal did. Here's the Federal ammunition, and here's 5 shots for the Federal. So it's going to be 1.5, which is again a very fine group. On this particular day, the 686 Smith & Wesson did not quite equal the Ruger GP100, but I tell you what, their performance is very similar, and you're well armed with either gun. Fred's going to do one more little test here. We've loaded both of these guns, the GP100 and 686, with 5 rounds. We have our pro timer, at least I have the pro timer on here, and what we're going to do, we're going to time my time with both revolvers for 5 shots. Now, incidentally, we do sell the pro timer through the Bullet Express. If you don't have a catalog, write to us or call us and ask for one, because we do have some neat stuff, and it will be increasing in the number of things that we have to offer. So a lot of you can't find these things at your local sporting goods stores, and certainly everything you buy from the Bullet Express helps our program. We do appreciate it so much. We have timers and all sorts of things, holsters, other things, bullets for different guns. So let's see what the timer does for 5 shots. Of course, this will include my reaction time, which is normally around 1/4 of a second to 3/10 of a second. But let's just see what it does on the paper here. And you know, the timer's going to start me. I'll punch the button. It will start me at random, and then I'll shoot the gun. So here we go. Punch our timer, get in position. Okay, 1.26 seconds for 5 shots. And in fact, not a, about a 2.5, 3-inch group there. Not a bad time for full charge ammunition. Okay, let's do the same drill. That was 1.26 seconds, and let's see. And my reaction time was 2,500, so that took me about a second to fire 5 shots through the GP. Now let's try the 686. And those of you just tuned in, this is a 686. Typically the blue guns are 586s. This one has a black coating on stainless. So anyway, get my hearing protection in good again. All right, same drill, different place on the target. Punch the timer and get ready. Well, 1.28 seconds for 5 shots, so I don't think 2/100ths of a second between these two guns is going to make a lot of difference. And a similar size group there, about 3 inches, about very similar. So you can see the guns, even though they have different brand names on them, they are so similar. And let me tell you what, friends, these are 2 of the best combat or defensive or hunting handguns. How about 2 of the best handguns that money can buy? They're very close in price. It just depends on which one fits your hand better, which one you may happen to like. Both of them are terrific guns. You cannot go wrong on either one of these. Both of them come in different barrel lengths, different finishes. And I tell you what, friends, the 357 just possibly may be the absolute single best defensive caliber gun cartridge or gun combination available today. So the great Smith & Wesson 686, the tremendous Ruger GP100. You pays your money, you takes your choice.
Friends, we're so pleased to be working with Soldier of Fortune magazine, the journal for the professional adventurer, or just someone who likes to read about adventures around the world. They absolutely tell the truth about the situations that they write about. These are very fine people. We're so pleased to be associated with them. For subscription information, call them at 1-800-877-5207, Soldier of Fortune magazine.
You know, reliving the past can sometimes open up a whole new future. Hi, I'm Grits Gresham, and take it from me, muzzle-loading guns offer a brand new kind of old-fashioned shooting fun. Muzzleloaders provide a uniquely different way to test your shooting skills, and you can also hunt during the special muzzleloading season. So take a step back in time and give muzzleloading a try. And to make sure you get the right black powder gun and gear you need, see the real pro in your community.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or television station.
Sniping and the role of the sniper has long been a subject of myth and misunderstanding. Some people think snipers are assassins. They aren't. Some people think they're merely hunters who go in the wood as some kind of freelance snatchers of life. They aren't. Snipers are superb marksmen, master tacticians, and superb practitioners of fieldcraft. And indeed, these are the three component skills that must be mastered in order to be a sniper: tactics, marksmanship, and fieldcraft. If a sniper is deficient in any one of three, he cannot execute his mission, whether law enforcement or military. Think of sniping as a three-legged stool. If any one of these three legs is shorter than the other, the whole stool will be out of kilter. It's equally true for a sniper. Therefore, we're going to teach you what a sniper must know about all three skill areas: marksmanship, fieldcraft, and tactics. This is a state-of-the-art sniper rifle, the Robar SR-90. It's a .308 caliber, has a Remington refined action, which Robar took a standard Remington action and tightened it up. The locking lugs have been lapped so that it closes much more consistently and smoothly than would an off-the-shelf sporting rifle. It sports a target-grade barrel, heavyweight. This is called fluting, in which strips have been cut from the barrel for two purposes. Number one is to reduce weight, and number two, in relative terms, it increases the surface area to improve cooling. Up here at the muzzle, you can see that that's a recessed crown, so as to protect that rifling from any dings which could degrade accuracy. If we look at the back of the stock, and this is a Kevlar fiberglass, and fiberglass, state-of-the-art stock, the cheek can be raised to better align the shooter's eye with the scope. You can as well adjust the butt for the overall length so that it better seats into the shooter's shoulder. And of course, you want to achieve about 3 inches eye relief. The optic on this is a Leupold Ultra Mark IV 16 power Butler Creek scope caps to protect those excellent lenses. It is adjustable by quarter minute of angle increments for elevation. Here, windage is adjustable by 1 minute of angle. And over here is an important knob, focus. By focusing specifically on the target you're about to engage, you reduce even the slightest possibility of parallax. trigger is about 3 pounds, which is pretty typical for a sniper rifle, and it's a very smooth, refined, polished trigger. Very nice let-off. If you look the way I put my hand on that grip, there's a slight swelling in the pistol grip to reduce the likelihood that you might wrap your finger around it. Remember, for sniper level marksmanship, you want just the bare tip of that finger to be engaging the trigger, and you don't want to be pulling it other than straight back. Now the bipod, this one is equipped with a Parker Hale, which is an excellent bipod, probably about the best made, but as well, many sniper rifles come with the Harris bipod. It's less expensive, very popular. It attaches to the front swivel stud of a high-powered rifle. This is the bipod that is probably used by most police agencies in the United States, and it comes as an extra piece of gear with the M24 sniping system. This sniper rifle fires match-grade ammunition, and only match-grade ammunition should be fired with a sniper rifle. This is 308 168 grain federal match. A sniper team is outfitted with quite a variety of equipment. While much of it is certainly needed in the field, when you look at what's really critical, what's actually mission essential, it breaks down into 3 different groups: weapons, optics, and communications gear. For weapons, in addition to personal sidearms for self-defense, a sniper team obviously has a sniper rifle. In this case, it's an SR-90 Robar. Here we have an SSG made by Steyr. The spotter's weapon is an M16A2, which means it's got the heavier barrel and it fires a slightly heavier 62 grain round for better long-distance ballistic performance. The only addition here could be an M203 grenade launcher to this weapon so that it could fire 40mm smoke and HE to perhaps mask an enemy, prevent him from observing you, cover a withdrawal, etc. In the area of communications, here we have a handy talkie Motorola. Very typical of what law enforcement uses today, as well as special operations units. What's unusual about this radio is it has a micro switch, a push to talk for just an index finger for the non-shooting hand of a sniper. That way he can be ready to engage, he's got his trigger finger on the trigger, and yet he can still communicate perhaps to an observer or a sniper coordinator during an on-scene crisis. As well, this is an Eagle headset that includes a special device that can read vibrations off the top of your jawbone, so that you've got both ears clear. You can hear with your normal hearing and yet still communicate right through the jawbones. We've also got voice-activated radios. These are inexpensive ones, but the concept is that you have a combination microphone and earphone in the earpiece, and it's voice activated. You don't have to touch anything with your hand. The sniper can have his hands completely on the weapon and yet be communicating merely by starting to talk. In the area of optics, we've got firstly a spotting scope, absolutely essential piece of team gear. Should be a minimum of 20 power to be effective. No more than 30 power or mirage becomes a problem. At the other end of the spectrum, we've got mini binocs. Those are little 10 powers. Those are very handy because you can quickly pull them out of a pocket to check something out if you detect it with naked vision. And finally, we have some 7x50 Steiner binocs, excellent quality glass, and actually that is probably the key, most important optical item in the team, because you will initially detect target indicators with those binocs. Probably 70% of your surveilling with optics will be with binoculars. And lastly, I have an optical rangefinder there. The team also could have a laser rangefinder, especially when you get to shooting beyond 500 yards. Mere rule of thumb techniques become less and less accurate. You need something more reliable. The spotter leads in the march. That's when they're going generally cross-country because he's got that M16. And if you should unexpectedly encounter the enemy, he can put out a lot of lead fast. Versus this bolt-action rifle, it's not very good defensively. But when you're stalking, that's when the sniper leads, because he's going to be able to select the best hide, being the first one to go over a piece of terrain. That spotter fires that mass fire defensively. The sniper fires his bolt gun off that 32-gauge target. The spotter's got some additional duties that he stays very busy while the sniper's engaging and preparing to engage. He operates the radio. He's prepared to back up a shot if necessary. This can be critical during a hostage rescue where there's no room for missing. He times wind gusts. Remember that sniper cannot take his eye away from the scope to start estimating when there's a calm that he can fire through. Finally, he draws up the range card. Both of them, of course, estimate range. Two heads are better than one. They average the differences, and they're probably more accurate. They construct the hide together, and they search for targets. Most of their time in the field is actually spent searching for targets rather than engaging them. Now, here's an important distinction. Right now, I am the sniper. But after about an hour, looking through this scope, maintaining all that stress, the pressure, being ready to engage, my efficiency starts to decline. Same thing with that spotter. He's been intensely surveilling about every hour. We rotate weapons, and when we do, he becomes the sniper, and I am now the spotter. This is especially true for military. For law enforcement, the only difference would be we'd probably both have bolt-action guns, because you would not want to dare swap a weapon, especially when there are civilian lives on the line. You would not want to swap a weapon and trust someone else's zero. It's not just liability, it's practical policy.
Now, friends, what you've been watching is part of the Ultimate Sniper video, and this is available from Paladin Press, Post Office Box 1307, Boulder, Colorado. The zip code is 80306. Their phone number is area 303-443-7250. And they have some of the neatest things. We thought you might like to see some of the actual military and police tactics that are in use today. This is a terrific video. We only showed a very few minutes of it. I think a lot of you would really enjoy it. What you need to do is write to Paladin Press and get a catalog, or give them a call and ask them to send you a catalog. Again, that phone number is area 303-443-7250. I think you'll really enjoy some of the things they have to offer. Friends, we want to remind you about the South Mississippi Practical Shooting Association 3-gun match. It's going to be on October 10, 1993 at 9 o'clock in the morning. Registration will start at 8:30. Now, this is near Poplarville, so what you need to do is call them at area 601-264-8999 or 601-831-4655. They're some very nice people, and we're glad to work with them. All right, here we are with the black box again, and I still can't show you what's in the black box, but if you call us at our 800 number, 800-895-7916, and leave your name and phone number, we will get back to you. We've had so many calls, but if you're concerned about your security for your home, the things that you have for your family, you really need to know. So friends, please give us a call. Also, you can call and get a copy of the Bullet Express. And we want to remind you folks about our good friend Larry Scott with his Interstate Road Show. He's on KWKH Radio. That's 1130 on your AM dial, midnight to 5:30 a.m. Well, friends, we've done it again. We've run out of time. Unfortunately, we could have gone on for a lot longer. Well, you know that. We certainly appreciate all of you watching our program tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Remember, if you talk to any of our sponsors, please let them know that you saw it on the Shootin' Show. It's so important to us. Thanks to everyone who's assisted on the program, and we look forward to seeing you again next week on another Shootin' Show.